Outer Orange.
What if I told you that there is a way to make V Premium Pacifica work without Ursula, a card that has been eroded and a card that has pretty much nerfed the deck a little, but obviously with it being eroded, it's not as good now. But what if I told you there's a way to still make the deck work pretty well, get you draw, and still get your Exodia win con? That's what we're going to talk about today, guys. Welcome back to my channel. This is Outer Orange here. Today we're doing a V Premium Pacifica deck profile, so let's go and do that. Guys, here we are. Here's Pacifica. Of course, we gotta do tradition. Deckbox first. You guys know me and Pacifica. We're very good friends. I got the Pacifica box right here. Been using this box for her for a while now, and I got the sleeves too. I know that they are Link Joker sleeves. I'm aware of that. These are the sleeves that I use for all my Bermuda decks, mainly for between Premium and V Premium nowadays. Most of my Bermuda Triangle stuff is in this sleeve because it's just cheap, convenient, because I can just, if I need to make a change, all I have to do is grab my box, grab whatever card I need, and I just switch it out, and it's nice and simple and easy, and I could do lots of testing with it. V Premium Pacifica, here we go. So we're gonna start with Pacifica herself. This is Top Idol Pacifica. This card states you can Soul Blast once and do all the conditions below based on your rear guard Pacificas, meaning she doesn't count herself, which would have been cool if she did, but she doesn't. So activate all the skills before, depending on how many cards with Pacifica in its name. So if you have one or more as a rear guard, so let's pretend we have one right here, then you get 10k and a drive like your Vanguard does. And then if you have two or more, you get 2 extra imaginary gift force. And then if you have 3 or more, until the end of turn, when your opponent would call from his or her hand, they must call 3 or more cards at the same time. Pretty much a guard restrict. So if you have something like this on the board, you pretty much have the Exodia going on here. And you may be thinking, well, how is this useful? You know, you got a bunch of grade 3s and you're only searching for 4 throughout the entire game. It's kind of hard to meet this condition. I agree, it is. That's why I recommend playing this in Premium more, as you have more options and more Pacificas to search for, as it is not entitled to Top Idol Pacifica. It's any Pacifica, which is pretty cool. But there are some ways to make this engine work really smoothly. That's what we're going to get into. Expect Rhythm Vieira, probably the consistent, and this is the MVP pretty much. This card just does so much in one card for this specific engine. Really wish this card was in another deck, because this is like a perfect card in every way you want to think about it. But it says if your Vanguard is Top Idol Pacifica or herself, you can Counter Blast 1, put another rear guard to the bottom of the deck, call up to 1 normal unit from your drop zone to rear, and choose all of your rear guards until the end of your opponent's next turn. They get boosted, cannot be chosen by your opponent's card's abilities. This is pretty much a form of resist for those of you guys that play Premium. Essentially what this says, if your opponent card states that it can choose a card, these cards don't get chosen anymore, which is really good for stuff like Pacifica, as you don't want your Pacificas to leave the board at all, right? You want them to stay so that way you have your guard restrict every turn. And this card says, hey, let's make that happen. On top of the fact that it makes everything boost, so now your grade 3s are boosting. But I think the most interesting part about this is put another rear guard to the bottom of your deck. Now that may sound not too great, but you got to read the card carefully. It says Counter Blast 1, put another rear guard to the bottom of your deck. Let's just think about this real quick. It doesn't state what kind of rear guard, it states any rear guard. This means that you can put heal triggers, crits, perfect guards, whatever you want. You can actually put those cards back into your deck. So in case you're holding like too many triggers, or you're having a big hand and you really want to recycle back your triggers, you can do this with this card. Now keep in mind, you do have to shuffle, but it's okay. We have cards that shuffle, so it's not the end of the world. But this is just something to think about. You can actually return cards back into your deck, which is really cool. You can only call normal units from the skill, but you can put back whatever you want, which is just a really cool thing. Another thing that's cool about this is whatever you call back, if it has an on-place ability, it will activate. So in case you want to reuse skills or reuse search skills or reuse whatever, the card has a lot of flexibility to just do a lot of cool things. Their Affection Lier, or Larie, I don't know. But this is her. This is a Coral support card, but hear me out. This makes sense. So her skill says when placed, Counter Blast 1, Soul Charge 3. If you Soul Charge a Coral's card, then you draw a card. So she's not restricted to you having to have a Vanguard rear guard for her, a Vanguard Coral for her first skill. Most Coral type skills, you have to have Coral as a Vanguard or something like that. This skill doesn't state that. All it states is that you have to Soul Charge a Coral to get a draw, which you will be Soul Charging Corals. We haven't seen them yet, but we'll see Corals here in a little bit. So what's nice about this is that this lets you draw. It lets you put down a card and draw, and on top of that, it lets you Soul Charge pieces. And by pieces, I'm talking about Pacifica. If you're Soul Charging, that's actually another way to search for your cards. So in case you Soul Charge a Pacifica, you can then Soul Blast it out, and then guess what? Vieira says to call back a normal unit, you can call back the Pacifica that you Soul Blast out. So essentially, essentially you can use this engine right here to get your Pacifica pieces back. But there's kind of more to this, and we'll talk about it. She has a second skill, and we can use it, but it won't always work. It's a secondary skill if your Vanguard is Koro. So as I said, this won't always work. In its card name, you can Soul Blast 2, countercharge 1. All of your rear guards get boost until the other turn. In case you do have a Vanguard Koro, which will have the grade 2 right here coming up. I'll show her just so I can explain this. So if this is your Vanguard, then you can actually use this skill. So you can counterblast for her when placed skill, and then countercharge it back if you have this as your Vanguard. So let's go ahead and talk about our Shiny Star Coral here. When placed, soul charge, and then says what if your Vanguard's Coral, you can soul charge again. So essentially, if you place her as the Vanguard, you soul charge twice, and then you can Soul Blast and get 10k. And if you have a Vanguard Coral's name came, you get an additional 5k. We're mostly here for the 10k. However, if you place her on Van on your grade 2 turn, she will get an additional 5k. And then if this is your rear guard, then these actually piggyback off each other in your grade 2 turn, and you can go into a grade 2 rush turn if you need to. But if you have the guard restrict active and you have force 2 on all your Pacifica, since you are getting like 3 force markers in one turn, your opponent has to guard everything. And if you put them to 3-4 damage, they are in lethal zone of pretty much dying on that turn. So the best way to enable that even further is by having a grade 2 rush turn. So I also run Caro. So this is from Caro Pastoral Caro. Very simple skill. When placed from hand, you may Soul Blast 2, which we don't have soul issues at all in this deck, so this doesn't matter. Search your deck for a grade 3 Vanguard, same as your Vanguard. So you can only search for a grade 3 Vanguard. So you can only do this on your grade 3 turn. You reveal it, put it to your hand. This is pretty much your final Pacifica. Last I run the emergency button. This is the button. And what does that mean necessarily? Well, this card just says you can pick up one face-up top idle Pacifica each from your drop zone and from your damage zone and put it into your hand. So in case one of your Pacificas drops into your damage zone, you can then pick it back up with this card. This is probably the only way you can really do this, unless you just heal out of it. Just keep in mind, it is face-up, so meaning you can't counterblast and do something and then pick up that same card. This is essentially a way of counterblasting to get your Pacifica back to hand. Now keep in mind, if you have one in drop zone, you can actually just pick up both of them. There's no errata on this card. This is, however, a hard once per turn. So she's your emergency button. Let's go ahead and talk about our grade 1s. We got some cool, unique stuff to talk about here. Let's go ahead and start off with Fresh Star Coral. So this is kind of the component to your grade 2, to this grade 2, to this grade 2, and to your Pacifica engine. For one, she on play soul charges, so if you need an extra soul, this is perfect. But her Vanguard skill is actually what we're here for. This is the best Vanguard ride target you can probably get to. That she's perfect. So if you see this, you definitely want in your mulligan, you definitely want to keep her. She says when placed, if your soul has a Coral in its card name, which will be this starter right here, you have to run the starter for this deck to fully function. But anyway, it says you draw a card and put a card from your hand to soul. So one, this draws you a card. Another, this lets you put a card from your hand to soul. So you can actually go ahead and just stick one of your Pacificas into your soul. What's nice about this is in case you want shield, because this deck actually doesn't have that much shield because you're searching a lot and you have your grade 3 Pacificas between turn 1 and 3, so you're actually very vulnerable to rush. This kind of saves you that, so you can put her into soul for now, keep her in there, and then you can Soul Blast her out to then use Vera to get her back, essentially. It's just another way to just kind of like cycle through a little bit faster. Next, I run the best Pacifica searcher in the game right now. This is the best Pacifica searcher there is. When placed, look at top 7 cards, search for any Pacifica. It doesn't even state which one. It states any. There are some that are restricted to specifically this Pacifica, but this one is just free for all. Search for any Pacifica and you get it, and then on top of that she gets 3k power, so she becomes an 11k booster on top of everything else. And this is a hard when placed, means you can do it for the Viera, you can do it from anywhere, as long as you can bounce this back and do it again. This is a very nice searcher, probably the best. That's why I'm running this one and not anything else. And the best part about her, there's no counterblast, no soul blast, no extra crap. You just do it. It's just free. This is free 99 income right here. This is free income. The new promo called Scarlet Vivid Quali. So I'm gonna show her just so you guys have a full image of her here. This is Scarlet Vivid Quali. This is my rush card. So we were talking about some rushing earlier. This is the other way to rush. She says when placed, you make soul charge 1, and then if she's rode upon, you can pop her out. And actually, when you pop her out, you'll be able to soul charge again because it's a when placed skill. So that's why do I run this? Well, in case you miss your ride, like in case you just don't get your like super draw pieces, but in case you ride into this, you can actually have a rush turn because she pops herself out, and then this card will get power, and then she will become a booster, and then you just pretty much utilize her. So utilize her as a Vanguard and then utilize her as a rear guard. I'm gonna put the starter right here because the starter is actually important to this whole engine. You actually need this exact starter, which is Angelic Star Coral. Without the starter, this card does not go off, so just something to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and talk about our triggers. We have 4 heals, 4 draw PGs, 2 regular draws, 6 crit total. Now you may be wondering, why the heck am I running draw in a deck that's very lethal and very I must finish games by hitting crits? Because if you guys have played Pacifica or know how Pacifica works, you'll know that Pacifica is very reliant on hitting triggers on her triple drive, which is what she gets. But something to keep in mind is your columns are already hitting for 2 damage. So if you put yourself at the perfect if you put your opponent at a really nice perfect lethal number, chances are they're going to guard anyway, and that crit won't really change it too much. But you need your draw to kind of hit your pieces as fast as possible. If you go force 1, I think running more crits makes more sense, but because you already have crits on all your attacks anyway, I actually think running some draw is important, because you want to make sure you see all this as soon as possible, because the sooner you see all this, the better your game plan is going to be end game. So of course you want your quick shield, and that's important, but we know about the quick shield. So force 1 versus force 2, like what's the debate here? So with the way I run my triggers, like I said, if you run your triggers a little differently, you can change it up a little bit, but with the way I personally run my triggers, I think force 2 is the better option, as you're constantly going to be guard restricting your opponent. The thing is, if you have high numbers with the guard restrict, they're going to want to guard it more, but if you have a low number and a guard restrict, they're going to have to guard it because there's a guard restrict on it. So if you're swinging for 23k but you have a 3-card guard restrict, that means they have to overguard, whereas if you're swinging for 43k with a guard restrict, that 3-card guard, it doesn't feel as painful anymore. If the game drags long enough, you can have like 9 force markers on the board, and that kind of can get awkward if you go force 2, but usually this will end games faster, while this gives higher numbers. If there was a way to multi-attack, I would say maybe this would be better, but we currently don't have any way to multi-attack in Pacifica, so honestly this is the best approach. So let's go ahead and talk about some interesting stuff you can do in Pacifica. Grade 1 turn, if you go into Coral, it's actually really solid. As you draw for your starter, you draw for the Coral, and then you can go ahead and put something to Soul, call your Coral, Soul Charge 2 for Coral's skill, and then you can go ahead and call out her, use Counter Blast to Soul Charge 3. We actually did hit a Coral, but if we had, we would have drawn a card. We'll just pretend we hit a Coral. Draw a card, just to give you guys the full, like, kind of engine. And then you can also call out some more cards. So you can call out, like, you can call out Vera here if you want. You can call out, this. We do have a Coral, so we actually Soul Charge 2. She gets an additional 5k. Just making her, she's getting really beefy here. We can put this out. We're actually getting a whole soul engine going on here. Then you can use her secondary skill to Soul Blast Countercharge, and thus giving you a boost. And then you can also Soul Blast for her skill, which will then give her 15k. And then, you could just swing. These are all really high numbers. You could swing again. Oh, we do get a draw. Not bad. Draw, and then you're going to swing here, and that is pretty much kind of like what your rush turn will kind of look like. This right here alone is 33. This is 23 because she gets 5k because we have a Coral on the board. So this is 10, and then it's 33, and then it's 23. So these are pretty high numbers on a grade 2 turn. Then we can kind of start thinking through how we want to utilize getting everything into our, getting everything ready. So you can start with Caro, you can Soul Blast 2, Soul Blasting the Pacifica that we actually have in here. And we Soul Blast 2, we can Soul Blast the Coral as well, because Coral's actually pretty nice. We're going to search for our final Pacifica in here. There's the Pacifica. I'm also going to give myself, I forgot to give myself some damage here, so we'll give ourselves a little bit more damage just to utilize that. So now you can do some interesting stuff. So in case you want to try and get to your win con of getting both these out, because they are both in here. We have one in hand, we have both in there. You can actually use this skill, Counter Blast, put this to the bottom, take a normal unit, which will be Pacifica, and put her here, and then we can call over her. Do it again. So we'll Counter Blast. We'll send this to the bottom. Calling out a Pacifica. And then for the final Pacifica, which is in our hand, we can just call her out, and there we go. We have Exodia. We have our Exodia for 3 guard restricts. So now we can Soul Blast for her skill and get our force markers. And we're ready to rumble. And that's pretty much Exodia Pacifica here. Everything boosts, everything has resist from her skill. And I did have to call over her because she is a once per turn, but if you call over her, you can just do it again. And now you have your full-on Exodia pieces going on here. And you can just go on a pretty much like from here, she gets an extra drive. Just looking something like this. The only thing that would make this better is if we got another Coral to the board, but we can, but it'll be a little risky for us. But the only thing that would make this better if we got this out on the board. So just be cautious of the fact that all your rear guards are pretty low right now. But you can just go kind of swinging this way. They're both of these are kind of the same. You can actually even swap these if you want to have like interceptors. And so you can swing this way. This is 23. Your opponent has to guard 3 cards, and you can swing with Van, making them kind of decide where they want to guard. If they want to guard this or they want to guard this, as this will be smaller and they can get a defense and kind of shut it down, or they could die to a crit here. So then we do our check. We have our 1. We do power to our rear here in case they don't do like a normal pass here. We draw a card. So that's our draw. And then we do a check 2. Oh, it's a crit. Crit and power will go to our girl over here. And then check 3, it is another Vera. So that will be potentially whoever they want to take it. So they can, if they guarded this, then now they have to take this, which is 23, 33, 43 with triple crit on it, or with a triple guard restrict. So they'll have to guard this. And that's pretty much the end of that. But yeah, it's a pretty fun deck. I really like it. I think it utilizes the engine pretty well of what Pacifica is capable. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the main screen. All right, so we're back. So I hope you guys enjoyed the profile. As you guys know, Coral is one of my, Pacifica is one of my favorite decks to play. I would say it's kind of a little bit straightforward. Like, it doesn't really have any craziness, but I think Vera, ever since Vera came out, I've just had a lot of fun experimenting with the deck and just a lot of fun figuring out ways to make the deck better, both in premium and V premium. Even with the Errata, I think the deck has a lot of capabilities of being a really, really fun deck. And I just think the guard restrict is just super meme and just a super fun way to just tell your opponent, hey, I hate you. So I just think it's super fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. I hope it helps you. I know some people are discouraged by Ursula being eroded, makes people not want to try the deck out. It's not that expensive for how much it offers, and it's a really, really good starting deck for some people, as it really helps you understand kind of how a lot of stuff in the game works. It makes you think about like a lot of skills. Share it with your friends if there's any Pacifica lovers out there that think Pacifica might be dead. The video, please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Leave me some cool information below. Tell me how you feel about this deck or any other deck that you're playtesting in V Premium or other formats like Overdress or Premium. I'm always happy to hear your thoughts and all your feelings and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, guys, it's been real, it's been fun. Peace out, das vidanya, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!